Hello. All right, we are live. So I wanted to cover a handful of grab bag topics that we haven't gotten to in the last meeting that I think are interesting. And the last meeting, still in work mode. The last live stream that we were doing, just that we hadn't gotten to. One of those is the Flick button fabric holder, which Brian Essler, who's a regular attender of these live streams, was mentioning last week. And then I couldn't find the right page on the website for whatever reason. I mean, doing these live streams is kind of a lot of things going on at once. I don't know, blame that or Flick's bad web design. But this is the fabric holder Brian was talking about. So it allows you to put a Flick button in all kinds of different places. You know, it could be on your clothes, could be on furniture. I think Brian was talking about on a sofa. Here they have it mounted in a car. So that's available for $10. I don't know. I'm not too excited about this myself, but I could see plenty of scenarios where people would be. So I just wanted to mention it here in case this is something you want to check out. Another thing is, on last Friday, Nanoleaf started shipping their outdoor multicolor matter string lights. So those are there. And let's see. Oh, system. Okay, cool. Difficulties here with the stream, but hopefully everything looks okay on your end. And then, yeah, I mean, so these Matter multicolor outdoor lights, I saw the packaging for these at CES. They didn't actually have them on display, if I recall, but they look pretty cool. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to review them on the channel or not. I reached out to Nanoleaf, and they haven't gotten back to me about sending me these. But another thing was this air purifier that is Apple Health and Matter enabled. So it's supposed to like use Apple Health somehow to like facilitate air purifying based on your sleep cycles, which I'm very suspect about this idea. I want to keep an open mind, but at the same time, I just don't see how much that could really be all that useful. I mean, obviously having clean air and air purifier in your bedroom, that makes a lot of sense, but like, does it really need to sync somehow with your sleep cycles? Anyways, something else that I thought was slightly suspect and weird, but then Matter support for vacuums. Of course, the Ecovacs and Roborock vacuums that shipped earlier this year, or wow, I'm out of it today. I'm sorry. The Roborock and Ecovacs vacuums that were announced at CES have now started shipping, but they have not shipped Matter support for either of those vacuums yet. And SwitchBot, though, has come out with Matter support for their vacuums, although I don't have a SwitchBot vacuum, so I haven't tried this myself. It looks like from the videos that it's really just a light switch. So, they'll just flip a light switch basically in Apple Home, almost as if it's a light switch Matter accessory, and then it triggers the vacuum to start. Kind of interesting. You can see how it could integrate with, let's say, a scene. Maybe you want to, because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these vacuums, they use cameras. And so it can be nice for them to have the lights on while they're vacuuming. So you could see a scene where you set, turns on the lights in a particular area. And then it also starts the vacuum. So that could be nice. I don't know if you guys are all that excited about Matter integration for vacuums. I think there's a handful of these things that, in my opinion, Apple Home has support for in some way or another right now. Like, let's say, security systems, where it is kind of handy to have that in Apple Home, but it's not as essential as I'd initially thought. And so while I've tried security systems in Apple Home, I've also tried security systems that don't work in Apple Home and I still love. And I could see that being the case with vacuums, where it's like, oh, it'd be a nice advantage to have a vacuum that worked with Matter that then worked in Apple Home or whatever other smartphone platform, smart home platform. But at the same time, I don't know, like I could see loving a vacuum that doesn't support Matter and then being okay with it. It doesn't work in Apple Home, but there's other great features I would presumably love about that vacuum. So same thing goes for HomeKit TVs. Of course, HomeKit TVs have been out for a while, Apple Home TVs. But I just reviewed a projector yesterday on the channel, and that does not work with Apple Home, but I can use an Apple TV with it and do a lot of things to get what I want just by controlling the Apple TV. So and it's a good image and picture and everything aside from that. So I think trade-offs to consider for these things, but yeah, I'm optimistic about Matter in vacuums, but we'll see what happens there. All right, I'm going to pull up the chat here. Let's see. Hold on. I don't know what happened to this is really bad. Here we go. All right, so now I have you guys up here in the chat. Good to see you, George. Good. Let's go back to the main camera here. I need to become a better smooth operator here with my live stream. Good to see you, William. Good to see you, George. Hello, Keenan. Saul, good to see you. Local viewer. Devanch from London. Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. You just got your Nanoleaf string lights today. All right. Looking forward to getting them installed, George. That's great to hear. Yeah, it's a good point, George. There are some nice Siri shortcut integrations with these vacuums. And even though some of them are literally Siri shortcuts and not just the Shortcuts app, it's like the very first version of Apple's sort of Shortcuts API that still happens to work. So, yeah. How am I sounding, by the way, in the chat? I've been playing with my audio levels, have a little bit different of a sound setup today than last week. I don't know if I'm coming through loud enough or too loud or too soft. So let me know. Kind of playing with different things here. Any clue when the SwitchBot Lock Pro with Matter Mini Hub will get shipped? They're telling me end of April, not the first delay. I don't know. I haven't really kept up on SwitchBot, to be honest. I just haven't really been all that impressed with their products overall. But I mean, I would imagine their lock would be pretty good, especially for a retrofit option, because you can, you don't need to replace the entire lock to get their lock to work if memory serves. And that could be really nice. Aqara is working on a retrofit option with their, I think it's their U200 line, but I don't think that is shipping yet either. So we'll have to see when both of those ship. Anyways, they announced, Aqara talked about the U200 at CES. Yeah, so I'm sorry I can't tell you, Trevor, when the SwitchBot one ships, but here we can pull it up so everybody knows, I guess, what we're hold on. Can I find that lock? Let's see. It's a really slow start to the live stream. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so here's the Matter Mini Hub and SwitchBot Lock. So you get this, let me show you guys this screen. You get this Matter hub, which I think it's good they're doing a mini hub because I ended up putting their hub they gave me with a screen just in the closet. And so there's really no point to have the temperature sensor and the other stuff on it. So I love that SwitchBot's making a smaller hub. And this is the lock sort of retrofit option. It's cool that it has fingerprints on it. So 9 months on a single battery regular use, which is pretty impressive for a lock. All right, so we'll see. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about ship dates on this, but I should pay closer attention to SwitchBot. Thank you for bringing that up, bringing this up on the live stream, Trevor, because this looks like a pretty interesting product, and I tend to just always, I don't know, just kind of, I probably haven't given SwitchBot a fair chance. I've just kind of dismissed them without, maybe not, because I don't like some of their products. Like I don't like some of their blind control stuff. I think the motors sound really chintzy and weird. And I just, I also think some of their motorized things just have very limited applications, but they continue to innovate in ways that are different than a lot of people. Like now they're the first ones to deliver Matter support for a vacuum. And so they'll just continue to push the limits in ways that I shouldn't ignore them, because they seem to be a pretty cool company in certain ways. Long-time watcher, first-time live attendee. Nice to see you, JSW. Yeah, sorry, I'm just a little bit slower on my end to start this live stream. This isn't usually we're usually things I like to think are a little more polished than they are today, but good to have you here, and hopefully we can talk about some interesting stuff. What are you using to open your garage door, and have you used Tailwind? I have not used Tailwind. I have basically just stuck with the terrible monopoly of MyQ, because long story short, like the people we decided were the best to do the garage door, they basically, because we needed a new garage door last year, they just do MyQ doors. And it was early on last year when there was still the Homebridge integration and MyQ hadn't shut down their API, and everything looked a lot more promising with MyQ than it does now. And so we got a new garage door with a belt motor. By the way, if you're getting a new garage door, it is worth going with if you can, with the belt drive system instead of a chain. It is way quieter, and just it's really nice to have a belt drive garage door. So we did that, but of course it was a motor that works with MyQ. So now we're stuck with MyQ. I have the app on my phone and I can open it there, and we have other ways to open and close a garage door, but it is just terrible how they've shut down their API. They're not letting anybody get in easily. I know there's some other options out there of other ways to sort of get in with MyQ and stuff. I just haven't put in the time to actually explore that part of my smart home recently. But because even, for example, there's a clock on the opener of our new garage door, and for daylight savings time, it didn't even automatically change the time, which I think is almost kind of like a minimum bar of like, are you really a smart product if the clock on if you have a digital clock and it doesn't change for daylight savings? That seems pretty bad. And because it also tells you the temperature and other stuff on like the opener. And it has a motion sensor, which then turns on the light on the MyQ opener, which is kind of nice. But of course, it's not integrated with anything else because it's MyQ. So I really don't like MyQ. I don't recommend them, but I ended up getting stuck with them just before they ended up becoming worse than they already were. So I should check out Tailwind. I should check out some other ways to control my garage door, but I haven't done that yet. Maybe as the weather gets warmer, it's a little easier to do some of those installs out in my garage. So I might have to dig into that some more. I saw a video you did a few years ago on integrating Sonos with HomeKit. Yeah, there's a handful of different options here. You can really just, if you get AirPlay 2 compatible Sonos speakers, which most of the modern ones are, you can just add them directly into Apple Home. The sort of roundabout way to do that is that you add an accessory and you say, don't have a code and can't scan. And then it will show you your Sonos speakers in that add an accessory view in Apple Home, and you can add them there. Sometimes it might take some restarting in the speaker or things to get it to actually show up, but it should show up there if it's AirPlay 2 compatible. The other thing you can do is Home Assistant has a plugin that then can expose your Sonos speakers to HomeKit through that. And a handful of other of those smart control platforms have ways to integrate with Sonos, which then you could potentially tie in with something with Apple Home in other creative ways. But I would say, generally speaking, just adding the AirPlay 2 speakers straight into Apple Home, or then using something like the Home Assistant plugin would probably be the best ways to do that. And then, the great thing about it too is, if you're not familiar, if you have a speaker in Apple Home, usually via AirPlay 2 or as a HomePod or HomePod Mini, you can add music to, and you are an Apple Music subscriber. So, software, hardware, and services working together. Kind of eye roll at that, which you have to pay for it. But of course, I pay for Apple Music. I think it's these days it seems like kind of, you got to pay for some music service. You don't have to, but it's kind of more common than it once was. So if you have Apple Music, you can then trigger music to play with a particular Apple Home scene. So you can then set a particular, even Sonos speaker to play via AirPlay Apple Music with a lighting scene, let's say, or something else. So we do that for the one of my son's good night scene, plays music for him to help him get to sleep. And you can use it in other cases. I've done various mealtime and dinner time scenes that tie some kind of music playlist or album from Apple Music to a scene that then sets the lighting and stuff. It can be really nice. So great options. There are options out there to add Sonos speakers, and that'd be my advice there, is go the AirPlay route if you can. If not, do something like Home Assistant. Do I have any updates on the Aqara M3 hub? I know they are working on it, and I know it's coming sometime in the near future, but I can't say exactly when. I think it's an exciting product coming from Aqara, and so we'll just have to see what happens. It's like the Apple response: we can't talk about future products. So, I was excited when the M3 hub announced, and I'm excited that, hopefully sometime this year, we'll start to see it from Aqara. Good afternoon, William. Good afternoon, George. Keenan, how has that Aqara Thread motion sensor been working for you? Would you recommend someone who is looking to get into Aqara devices? I think it's a great start. I think, the potential advantage of some of the Aqara Matter over Thread devices, like the motion sensor, is that you could buy that now, use it with your existing, I'm assuming that you have an Apple Home Hub that works as a Thread border router. So like a HomePod Mini, or, some of the later Apple TVs. I think Apple has a support article on their Thread border routers. I should probably have that on bookmark somewhere. Anyways, I'm pulling that article up. So if you have here's the article, because it's not always straightforward which are Thread border router. Kind of roundabout answering your question here, Keenan. But if you have one of these Apple TVs, the 3rd generation with Wi-Fi and Ethernet, or the 2nd generation, or then the HomePod 2nd generation or HomePod Mini, then, assuming you have one of those, you could just add your motion sensor into Apple Home, And then from there, if you get, let's say, the M3 hub down the road, you could then add the motion sensor into a car's M3 hub and then add other sensors to your car system there. So we'll see. I've really found it to be very nice. And one of the cool things that was brought up in the comments and I mentioned last week is that it actually has a light sensor on it. So one of the things you can do is set up a conditional automation to then be able to say only turn on the light if above a certain number of lux. So I'm actually going to pull up it's nice that the Eve app works on Mac. So I'm actually going to pull this up on here to show you guys what I'm talking about. Let's see, where is it in all of my automations in Apple Home? Office. There's office door. I wish there was a search in this scene. Okay. When motion sensor detects occupancy in office 2. Okay. Here we go. Yes. So I'm going to share this. Is this going to be, let's see. So here's this. All right. So I bring this over and zoom in. So hopefully you guys can see that a little better. So when occupancy is detected in my office, but only when the light level is from that same motion sensor is less than 11 lux. So this is a value condition I added in Apple HomeKit via Eve's free app for Apple Home. Then it will turn on the lights. So basically I've changed that motion sensor to, it's really nice because then you have the accent lighting in here when you walk in under the cabinet, but only when it's dark in the room. And you don't have to be checking any other values of like, you don't have to wait for your automation to go out and find something from another light or sensor. You're just looking at the values on that particular sensor. And that could also, depending on your room setup, cover the case of, well, the sun's shining really bright into the room. And so then it would be light enough that it's above the point where then you don't need the light to turn on. So yeah, I think this motion sensor is really cool and good. And it has this nice light level option in here. As I mentioned in that video, another good competitor to this to consider is the Eve motion sensor. I think Eve's motion sensor has easier to replace batteries, as I mentioned in that video. So, and I've heard other people say that the Eve's one chews through battery, but I haven't seen that myself. So, just some things to consider there with different options. But long story short, I think the Aqara motion sensor is still a good thing. And now that I've added that light condition to my automation, I like it even more. Yes. SwitchBot is great for renters. I completely agree. It's actually, I mean, especially like, just a lot of their options to retrofit. It's, you don't have as many options as a renter, but I love, Trevor, that you are presumably as a renter pursuing smart home tech, because it kind of annoys me sometimes when people think that they have to wait until they buy a home to benefit from anything with smart home tech, because there's so much you can do as a renter that you don't have to wait until you potentially buy a home. Oh, Shane, nice to see you in the chat. No worries, you're late. I got a kind of slow start here. Wasn't really on the ball at first, but now things are moving, and good to see you here, Shane. Thanks for joining. And oh, nice, Brian. Thanks for joining from the car. I mentioned your fabric mount earlier from the Flick button, so that's something that definitely good to consider if you want to mount Flick buttons somewhere. So thanks for joining, Brian. Oh yeah, We should, maybe we'll figure out, I think I have the capability on this to bring in a guest. I am not set up to do that today, but thank you, Tackle View channel. Maybe Shane and I can talk offline and figure out a way to bring each other together for some kind of joint live stream sometime. That would be fun. I'd love to do that. So, yes, and good to hear that you think so too, Shane. So yeah. All right. So Maris has an Apple HomeKit compatible universal unit that's actually on sale this week on Amazon. I think what you're referring to is the Maris garage door controller, which I have looked at for doing my garage controlling. I have not moved to that myself, but anyways, the thing that there's some tricky parts about getting those to actually integrate with some of the newer MyQ units that I've looked at. And it's just a matter of, I'll make a video about this sometime because I really should. And thank you for pointing out that it's on sale, Robert, because I might actually pick one of those up because it's been on my list of like, I need to talk about smart garage doors again, because right now my garage door is not in HomeKit. The last garage door opener I reviewed that's HomeKit compatible, by the way, that I think is still a thing. And actually, I don't think this would work with my current garage door setup, but if you have an older garage door, it actually is a good product, is the iSmartGate. So I'm pulling this up. It looks like, are they still being sold actively? Man, yeah, the iSmartGate Lite. It's not shipped and sold by Amazon, but I think it's still being sold. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking at. And I have a review on my channel of this product, but basically just hardwires into an opener and then imitates your opener, and it works with Apple Home. So yeah, you need the Lite or the Pro version. I think I tested the Lite version. The Pro, I believe, yeah, it does up to 3 doors. There's the stat there. So yeah, one to consider if you have an older garage door. Could be worth considering. I am all over the place zooming my setup today. Sorry about that. Let's see. I'm gonna go back here. Have you tried the Aqara A100 fingerprint door lock? Yes and no. Yeah, I've well, I guess no, basically is the short answer. It's something I probably need to check out one of these days, but I have not done that yet. I'm trying to do a bunch more product reviews these days because I've kind of been behind on reviewing products. I tended to, in 2023, focus more on like roundup videos and like trying to review multiple products in one, but I still think there's probably a place for like, as much as sometimes for certain smart home tech, the audience is small for like one video on one product, just doing those focus videos and just realizing, yeah, maybe not as many people are going to watch it, but if I'm interested in the product, it can make a cool video, even if maybe you're not going to buy it yourself. So we'll see. I might swing back to the Aqara A100 or some other locks sometime soon. But yes, you're a renter, George, and you get by all right. Back to that conversation. So yeah, completely agree. Hello, James from Las Vegas, another regular viewer. Nice to see you here. Yes, love the peace of mind, convenience of Apple Home, Trevor. Thanks for following up on that one. Yeah, from earlier. Yes, and George, we should definitely, Saul, it's a good point. Like if we do a joint live stream, Shane and I, it'd be fun to include George, and I know Modern Day Tech, Eric is in these. We did a while ago, I think it was like around, there was this, some of you guys might remember, there was this old app called Clubhouse. And there was like a time period where everybody thought this was going to be the next cool thing. And it was like these casual audio chats for people through their app. And if you, we had one of those for a couple of those for like Apple HomeKit creators. And those were some fun times back in the day, talking. And we had some fun people join those discussions on and off. That was a fun sort of group panel discussion. There aren't quite as many apps or tools to make that possible today. You can do I've seen Discord chats done in that way, but yeah, it's a little bit, and I think with this stuff that Ecamm Live does, I think I can add like one guest maybe, but I don't know about like a whole panel of people and all that. Plus then trying to switch and route all that and talk intelligently about something, it would be tough. So we'll see what's technically possible. But yeah, good memories on the Clubhouse days and talking about smart home tech a long time ago. Yeah, so that was that. Let's see. All right. Tailwind garage door is another great option. I chain switched to Maris. Tailwind has also been great. Good to hear. Yeah, I should probably check that out. It's finally, this weekend's chilly in Illinois, but it's finally starting to warm up here. So do I use the Level Lock Plus? I currently use the Schlage & Code Plus. I should check out Level Lock though. I haven't tried them. I should clarify. I haven't tried the Level Lock Plus. I tried the Level Bolt. I didn't end up making a video on it, but I did try it and it's pretty cool. You know how you can put a lock inside of your lock, or a smart lock inside of your existing lock, and keep the same keys and the same external appearance. Although with the Level Lock Plus, you don't, you're actually replacing the entire unit. Yes. Oh man, back to memory lane, Shane. I think you and I, with some of our early videos on the channel, Best Buy's Insignia brand had a garage door opener, and I think you and I both reviewed that. This would have been back in 2018, and yeah, that worked great for a while, but then just they stopped supporting it, and it stopped working. Yes, and Clubhouse, good times. I want to trigger an automation by an app's notification, which the notification will go off in a variable time of the day. Is it possible to do it through Apple Home? Not unless you have some kind of like a sort of pseudo virtual accessory that maybe you could create somehow in, let's say, like Home Assistant, where then it could fire an event that then Apple Home would consider notification worthy. Usually for custom notifications, you could potentially do, well, I would say the best way to deal with things where you want to be running an automation of some kind at a particular time of day, my first go-to on that would be personal automations on your phone, because you can schedule those at a particular time of day. You can set it to not need your confirmation even, and it can run. I have a personal automation that runs in the morning before I get up that sets some things in my smart home from my phone. If I'm home. So it does a check to see if the current Wi-Fi network of the phone is the network name of my home network, and then it goes ahead and runs. I think I could plug in my phone, but let me see if I could just pull this shortcut up and show you. But another potential option there, I've not played with it much myself, but is Pushcut. That could be used. You can run like a Pushcut server that can then send you notifications. Although, again, I'm a little out of date on that particular thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, because the personal automation is just on my phone. That's going to only be on my phone. So let's see. I'm actually going to pull that up here. Bear with me. This is not that fancy of an automation, but I think it's a good thing to keep in mind when you might need it. So let's see. Pull up QuickTime. Oops. So here, if I show this on my Mac screen, okay, zoom out here. So this is a personal automation that runs every morning at 4:45 a.m. where at a particular time of day, it runs immediately, and I don't need to be notified when run, but you could potentially use notify when run as another thing there. And then what it does is it gets the Wi-Fi network's name and the network details. And if it's my network, then it will go ahead and disarm my home in my Ecobee security system. So, and I change that time periodically depending on needs of our home. But it's nice to just be able to say, run something at a particular time of day in the morning or night or whatever, and then get that update there. So, anyways, I'm going to stop sharing that. And given the nature of your question, you might, Arkell, already know about those, but I just kind of wanted to explain that for people who might not know about personal automations. What do you think? Okay, let's see. Great. Yes. I'm glad, William, that robot vacuum's continuing to work out well for you. Might have some more content on robot vacuums coming on my channel one of these days. We'll see. But related to that, I think it's an interesting discussion point of smart home tech that your significant other or other people you live with really appreciate, because some things are more for us as more automation geeks and people who like to do this stuff, and other stuff we might get is more, has more benefit for the family. And I did just want to add, I sort of touched on that yesterday, but it's like, as much as it is a very expensive product, I mean, you're basically looking at like Vision Pro level pricing for that ultra short throw projector from AWOL Vision that I talked about on my video yesterday, the LTV 3000 Pro. But that is really one that I can tell my both my wife and my children love watching movies or other content on it. And it's kind of changed the way we come together and watch content at different times. And I think, I think the concepts there, obviously, like if you can afford it, ultra short throw projectors right now from AWOL, and there's other companies out there, that make some good, looks like, I haven't tried them all, but looks like some good products in that category, but they all are pretty expensive. But I think if prices come down over time, I really think the technology of ultra short throw projectors could really change how we experience TV and movies and things in our smart homes, because you don't need to have a dedicated home theater room to use one of those projectors. In a lot of cases, it could sit on your existing furniture and just project up against a wall with, a screen mounted there, or a screen that expands out of a, sort of some casing. And then you can get to a lot of cool different scenarios there where you're looking at sports, or some kind of game you're playing with friends in person, or a movie or TV show, just anything, like, just looks so good when it's at 100 inches or above. And so that was definitely a video that took a lot of time to set up that projector and learn about it and do all of that, but it was really fun. I had a blast, and I do think it's something that takes your content and like takes the Apple TV experience to the next level. And I was really pleased how well, like, Apple TV just handles all of those scenarios, without a problem. Working with a projector wasn't like it sounds obvious, right? Like, it should work with anything that supports HDMI, but you never know. So I was glad that all that worked fine. And I just think it's a cool concept that I think, whether you can afford the product today, or maybe it's similar things come down in price in the future, I think it's a cool product category to keep an eye on, because ultra short throw projectors, they can make some really nice picture quality and size. decided to upgrade second generation Nest cameras from first gen. Is Nest with Nest Aware with Starling the way to go if you want 24/7 recording compatible with Apple TV? I would say that's a good option. I mean, there are it's not the only option, but I think if you're used to Nest cameras and you just upgraded them, like, yeah, I think Starling Home Hub is a great option. I think Starling Home Hub is the easiest form of those sort of custom hubs out there that work with Apple Home somehow. And there are sort of these unofficial bridges to integrate stuff. Of course, you can, I think, still bridge Nest stuff with when you're doing bridge Nest stuff with Homebridge, but Starling just makes it so easy. They handle all of the Google login stuff for you. And they have some really nice video integration. So you can actually even use, I think you can even use HomeKit Secure Video. Although, back to your point, if I were you, I would use 24/7 recording in Nest for your recording, and then just use, Apple Home notifications as things for, like, let's say the doorbell rings and you want to see that on your Apple TV, while you're watching on your ultra short through a projector. You can be interrupted that way. So, yeah, some kind of spatial persona thing. That could be funny. How do I like that Vision Pro dock? Well, Caden, it's funny to see you in the chat. I mentioned it in my newsletter in March, and the Caden is the creator of this fine dock, which has appeared in the background of a bunch of my videos. And I might talk about more too at some point in the future Vision Pro videos as the software evolves. But sorry, I keep triggering the zooming on this. It's a really nice dock, and I think, I heard some other creators complain that's like a pain to use Vision Pro because they have to get it out of the case and set it all up and things. And I actually end up finding I use mine more because it's very easy for me to just use it here. Now, I actually, for various reasons, don't have the battery plugged in right now, but the battery's right here. But I can just like pick it up here. Usually the battery's plugged in. I have it charging. And then I have a footrest right here. So I can just turn around and put this on my head like this. Sorry, I got to keep turning for the microphone. And then I look that way, and I can either use Apple Vision Pro. I have a drawer right here. I pull out my keyboard dedicated to doing that. Or I'm mirroring my Mac. And then I, just put my laptop on my lap and look that way and have a Apple Vision Pro environment that way. So I think having some kind of a way to store your Vision Pro, initially I think I had a marble tray that was in my previous video before Caden had reached out and I'd gotten his dock. But I've switched to this a little 3D printed dock. It's a fun tool. So you can go check it out. I think here I'll put the link in the chat. Let me pull that up here. It's on my newsletter page. So if I go down here to my latest, here we go. So this link here, we'll stick this in the chat. So if you want to go check out that dock, if you use a Vision Pro, there you go. So let's go back to the chat. Yes, Eric Modern Day Tech, nice to see you here. He was back in the day on those Clubhouse streams and discussions ages ago. Good times. Oh, yes, that's a good point. Yes, Teresa, George, thanks for sharing about that discussion. Oh, back to live mode. Okay, here we go. There we go. Robot vacuums and smart thermostats. Yes, George, I agree. Those are some of some good ones that my wife loves. Our robot vacuum and uses it all the time, whatever the latest model is that I'm testing. And smart thermostats as well. Just being able to adjust the thermostat anywhere, have it follow you. I find I don't often use as many of the smart temperature adjusting settings on various thermostats. but I like sort of that it can, the convenience of that you have that, especially is like you leave home, you can save some money by having the thermostat go a little warmer or cooler, whatever. Yeah, really good points on that. Those being useful things that I think a lot of people can see the value in. I could almost imagine getting an ultra short throw projector. Well, to be honest, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I think there's some, one of my I haven't had a chance to get through comments from recent videos and stuff yesterday or today, but one of my one of the commenters that I saw on that video was mentioning that they're not really into like the TV side of smart home tech, and they want to see me doing more smart home tech that's not TV. But it's like, if we go over to apple.com, it's like, oh, of course they have the Vision Pro thing here, at least here in the US on apple.com. But if you see at the top here, what does it say? It says, hold on, I can't. It says TV and home. TV and home. I think Apple, and myself included, see home entertainment, things like the Apple TV, as the way, as a key part of smart home tech. And so as much as maybe some folks don't watch as much TV, and I kind of traditionally have been one of those people too. I haven't watched a lot of TV. It's why I love YouTube, because YouTube, you can see all these different shows and videos about your interest that maybe are not broad enough, that would in the past have never justified a TV show or a movie or anything about them. But yeah, anyways, just something to, and by the way, if you, even if, just regular TV, putting YouTube on a big screen with like the Apple TV app or other stuff can be really nice. So I highly recommend that if you haven't tried that and you like YouTube, because you're probably watching this, do that sometime. It's kind of nice to put YouTube on a big screen. But yeah, I'd also say I'm going to continue to cover TV stuff, not necessarily because I'm like diehard crazy about it myself, although I'm very interested in it from the technical side. Like, what are companies able to technically pull off? And that's what brings me in to the interest. And I think it's also a key part of a smart home. And I think, yeah, even though like relative to other people, I might not watch a lot of movies or a lot of TV shows, it's still something that I enjoy the experience of. And it can be a really nice way to escape from day-to-day life. So, but I agree. I mean, especially right now, that's why I hope the ultra short throw prices come down. If we go over to like AWOL Vision's website, they have the model under the one I reviewed is sometimes on sale for a little bit less, $3,000, which is still a lot of money. But if this gets down to, let's say, like a $1,500 projector, then you start to enter another price category, and even lower. So I think I'd love to see, as technology advances, the prices of these kind of projectors come down. And then I think it starts to become more practical for more people who might not be quite as diehard about, having the latest and greatest for their content, in sort of justifying, what do I spend money on versus, to what I spend time on and money on to try and get the most value for what you want to do. So, yeah, a lot of things to consider there, but I'm excited about that category as a whole. Although I was, as I said in the video, very skeptical at first. Yeah, I agree, George. The Starling Home Hub is very well done. I wish they'd do more integrations for others, but I think it's really a matter of APIs. Sonos has a really nice API. I could see Starling doing something like really slick with Sonos, but in general, I think, they just seem to really take that one use case of Google plus Apple and nail it. Let's see. Oh, nice. So you did the Homebridge integration with HomeKit. Good to hear. And Unify cameras. And that's working for you. That's great, Saul. Good to hear. Yeah. Your sister's not into smart home tech, Garance, but she bought a robot vacuum. Feels like it's the Jetsons. I agree. I think there was a robot vacuum review I did a while back where, who hasn't of the smart home creators compared robot vacuums to Rosie from the Jetsons. Kind of a classic show. Not everybody has seen. I mean, I know we have some viewers from outside the US here, might not understand the context there, but there's this cartoon of the Jetsons, this family that lives in the future, and they had a robot maid that would go around and do things. And kind of Rosie was a humanoid, kind of, looking the Jetsons. But I agree, robot vacuums are something that a lot of people can see the value in once they start using it. But I think the other side of it, though, too, is that a lot of people hear about robot vacuums and they think about sort of what robot vacuums were, kind of like projectors as well. What robot, and people do this with projectors too, where you'll think about what robot vacuums were, let's say 5 or 10 years ago, where they weren't very smart. They just kind of randomly bounced around the room, and maybe they'd pick up your stuff, maybe they wouldn't. But any robot vacuum you get these days is so much smarter than that. It has so many cameras and sensors. It knows when it's on a rug. It knows it's on floor. It knows how to avoid going down your stairs, or like falling off of your stairs or whatever, or any other kinds of cliffs like that. You can tell it to avoid certain areas. It does 3D maps of your home. Like, it's a whole other level than it used to be. So, let's see. Here's here is an image of, for those uninitiated, here's what Rosie looked like. So this was Rosie from the Jetsons. You might have heard reference or seen, but that's, kind of the typical reference for robot vacuums. All right. Well, we've been chatting for about an hour. Are there any other questions, things to bring up, discussion points? One other tech note I wanted to mention here of like a tech product. I don't know if this would actually turn into a review on my channel. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I know some of you guys out there like me work remotely and need to do video chats for work and other stuff. So I've been playing with recently, I got it myself, the Logi MX Brio. It's their new webcam. And that's what I'm actually talking to you on right now. I used to use my camera via HDMI or via an HDMI hookup into my computer. Because I had one of those like capture card things to do that for ages, from a long time ago. So I was able to kind of reuse that for my initial live streams. But it just got to be a lot to set up based on my setup. I think, some other creators have that kind of a thing more integrated into their day-to-day setup. But for me, it was just kind of tricky to manage that. So I just went back to a webcam, but I wanted something that looked nicer than like the built-in webcam on my studio display for doing live streams, so that you guys feel like there's some production value here. And the MX Brio is actually pretty good. I think the video quality is pretty good. My one complaint about it, though, I doubt anybody from Logitech would ever see this, but when I'm switching between my work laptop and my personal laptop on the same dock where this is connected, I have to unplug the camera and replug it back in to get the other computer to see it, which is really annoying. So, I mean, it's not quite as, it's still a net win over my previous setup, but that's just kind of a weird bug. But otherwise, other than that, it's really great. So, let's see. My robot vacuum encounters beds, cleans bedrooms. Her name is Lilia. That's great. Nice. So yeah, I think we have had a good discussion today. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties. I'm still trying to work out like everything here being smooth. I love all the features I get with Ecamm Live, but it takes a little bit of practice to get everything exactly how I want it. So thanks for bearing with me here on the stream. And hope to see you guys next week. I think we should be good for another live stream next week. Yes. So see you guys next week. And until then, I'll probably have some other videos coming out on YouTube. So thanks again. Have a good weekend. Bye.